not yet?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay, cool. So today our lecture is gonna be about the post and preprocessors, and mainly we will focus on the preprocessor like CSS, and also we will see the examples of how to use it and how to work with it in a more efficient way. So if you ever heard about the preprocessors, it's a tool that powered by, with the JavaScript, and it can be considered as a ordinary programming language, and with the help of the preprocessors, we can write the style sheets for our web page in a more efficient way, and without repeating yourself, by following the rules of do not repeat yourself, as dry, if you ever heard that. So the first thing we will talk about is the synthetically awesome style sheets. In a abbreviator is SAS, and it's an old version, SAS, and now we are using the newer version of the SAS. It has a format of CSS, and with the help of that, we can build our web page styles efficiently. So the first thing that we are going to need is to install the extension to our VS Code. It's called the SAS. Just a second. No, not the SAS. It's a live SAS compiler. In a real time, it will compile our SAS file into the ordinary CSS, and we can work with it. So I'm going to open the new project on my, oh my god, install on next launch. So we will open the new project, close folder, and open new folder, documents, new folder, SAS. Okay. As usual, index.html and main.css. So, and if you can see that here appeared a new button that called the watch SAS. If we click on that, it will start to compile all of the CSS files into the one CSS file. And in order to test it, we can click on that, and it will start to compiling our CSS code to CSS code. And it's a progress window output. And also, after we have clicked on watch SAS, there appeared the map CSS file and also the ordinary CSS file. So if we write, for example, I will write the variable in the CSS file, primary color, for example, ff00 ff. It's an example. So as you can see, it has output has changed also, and main CSS will compile and nothing will show because we didn't have used the primary color. And later, if you use that on a body background color, for example, primary color, We will come back to this later. I'm only showing you that our compiler is working. So as you can see, our variable here, ff00ff, is used in the background color of the body, and also we have it on our ordinary CSS file. The next thing that we should consider here is the connecting the connecting the right file. We will not connect the we will never connect the SSS or the SAS file, because it's not it cannot be used and read by the browser window. So therefore we will only use the CSS file. So we have connected the used CSS file, compiled CSS file, and after that we can start our web page by opening it on a browser. As you can see, it works, and body has the color that we have on a variable. So it was the first steps into the preprocessor, and the next thing that we should talk about is what's the reason of using the preprocessor in the CSS files. So as I have mentioned before, we have some concepts in programming, like the keys, dry or solid. For example, main two things is that dry is that do not repeat yourself. For example, if we have a design that I have shared with you, if I'm not mistaken, just a second. If we have a design that has the primary colors of, for example, ff00ff, and the secondary color of secondary color of 00ff00. We cannot remember all of these kind of sizes or the colors by ourselves. In order to not to remember but to use it more efficiently, we can create the variable on our SSS file. For example, we have named it primary color, and the second color we have named it as secondary color. In everywhere in our CSS file, we do not have to remember the real numbers of the color, but we should only remember the name of it, and we can use it on for example, all of the divs should be in a background of secondary color. So also one thing that I should mention here, all of the variables in SAS files are begin with the $sign, and you put $sign, and then you write the name of it, and then you will write the value of this variable. Variables can be anything in CSS, for example, the size, paddings, margins, and any kind of size that are used in CSS files. And also some calculation calc files, if you know about the calc. For example, calc functions 100 VH minus 100 pixels. It also can be variables like this. So next thing, we will open the documentation of the SAS, and we will open the Learn SAS page and start with an order. We have talked about the variables. As you can see, variables in the SSS you start with the $sign, and also it's followed by its value, and it's a SAS version. Main difference between the SAS and the CSS is that if you focus on the code here, firstly we will compare it with the ordinary CSS and the CSS. So all of the unnecessary information from the CSS files are deleted in this CSS files because the variables is not supported in ordinary CSS, so they are deleted here, and only the thing that we have here or in ordinary CSS is the body styles. And the next thing is we should compare it with the Sass. If you are understanding what's happening, ordinary Sass files do not have the semicolons on the end of each line like the ordinary CSS or the CSS files. So semicolon, there are no semicolons, and also there are no curly braces when we are beginning the styles after the selectors. So many of the people are get rid of the Sass because when you are putting the space or clicking the return button, you can how to say put more space or less space, and do not put the return after the selectors, and because of that our Sass files can become more complicated to read, and also it cannot be compiled to ordinary CSS, and therefore now people do not use the initial Sass. Instead of that, they have started using the CSS files. So the next thing that we should consider here is the nesting. If you focus on here, so in ordinary CSS, if we wanted to select the child of any kind of element by selectors, we will write all of the information from now UL and now UL lie and now UL lie A. We should write like this in ordinary CSS, but in the case of CSS files, we can write it by nesting. I will show the example here in a more ordinary way. For example, if we have some kind of menu called nav, and also it has the UL unordered list, it has the list item, and also it has the links inside of it. For example, first, and we will copy and paste it 5 times. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. So as you can see, our HTML structure is ready, and the next thing we should consider here, we will write the styles to the CSS file. While I am writing it to CSS, I will explain it to you later. So in order to get the nav UL, we will write like this: nav UL, now UL li, and now UL li and A. So as you can see, we are writing by repeating the now UL and now UL li after each selector. It's not the efficient way in CSS, but if we use the ordinary CSS, we should write like this. So we will write, for example, background color is the gray. UL, we will write nothing here, and list style type none, and maybe we will write display flex, and A, text decoration none. If we go to the our document file, as you can see, text decoration is not work. We have deleted text decoration, and also the bullet points of the menu items are removed, and it works okay. But there is one trick that you should consider. If you write to the CSS files, SSS file will not change. It works in one direction only. It can be, if you write to CSS, it will not translate it to SSS. It works only one direction. If you write the CSS, SSS, for example, we will copy all of our code, and not the code. Maybe first thing we will change the color. For example, background color white. We have our SSS now translated into CSS, and all of the code that we have written in CSS file is deleted because we didn't have it on SSS file, and after you have clicked the Control S button, it has translated to, that what we have on CSS to SSS to CSS, and it's all of we have written is deleted. So we will paste and translate our code into the SSS. So nesting is the writing one element inside another element by connecting it with the parent-child connections. So now, and we will have now UL. Now UL has its element LI has its element A. So as you can see, we are not repeating ourselves, and we are using the styles in a more efficient way. So if you look to the code, it's more readable. That from the first side, we can say that the UL is the child of now, LI is the child of UL, and the A is the child of LI. So it's more readable, and we are not repeating ourselves. And also, it's how to say translating it to the main CSS file. As you can see, it also works without any kind of problem. It was the nesting, and I have used here only with the tag names. So by selecting the tag names, also you can add the class names. For example, navigation, and it also will work without any kind of problem. And for example, ID first now. Not inside the A element, but inside the LI element. It can be used. So font size 22 pixels. Oh my god. First now, I didn't save it, so it works without any problem. Next thing, we will not we will use the partials. Modular says it can be said that as the modular CSS. For example, we can divide our CSS files and connect one CSS file into another file. As you can see here on the documentation of the SAS, we have opened the base CSS file and connected with the special keyword use, and all of our code from the base CSS is connected to the our stuff.sss. So it can be helpful when we are dividing our code into some modules. For example, all of the normalization of our browsers and the styles can be used in one file and connected to another file. We will open the page, not the page, new SSS file with the underscore, all of the partials that we want to use with the keyword of use should be started with the underscore symbol, and we will name it normalize.scss. So it works. Body margin 0, padding 0, and font family sans serif. And the next thing is H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. We are deleting the we are guys, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
My internet has stopped. So we have written all of the resetting browser's default styles, and we will now connect it to our main SSS file use and the normalize. So we can test it now. Ouch, it didn't connect, and I think there is an error in our output. Change detected, generated, watching. No, it has no errors. Did I use it in a incorrect way? Let me check. So documentation says use base CSS. Body, no problem. And now normalize. No, it's not working. Base SSS styles. I notice we are using the base in the styles SSS when you use a file. You don't need to include the file extension styles. It's smart to figure out for you. So normalize. It works, and also body do not has the changes. Use. Okay, we will come back to it later, and let us start with another thing called the mixins. So if you have started, I think you have all started the JavaScript and you know about the functions. So functions, as you know, has the parameters, and with the parameters you can give some variables to the function, and you can get the result according to this parameters. So mixins are like that, and also works in that kind of way a little bit. So mixin is the thing that we should use when we have some kind of repeating code where we should use the one thing many times. We will start with the add sign and mix keyword mixin, and we can name our new mixin. For example, in many cases when we are working with before or after pseudo selectors, we will have repeating elements like content, margin auto, and top, bottom, zero, top, bottom, left, and right, the zero, for example. And we can create the universal mixin for the before element, before mix, and start it like this. As you can see here, we have the parameters started with the sim. So all of the before elements has the content set to the empty string, and the next thing is the position absolute, and the margin, for example, auto, and it's all of the repeating elements. And the next thing that we should consider here is the top, bottom, and right, and left. So we can write the variables to the as the parameter of the mixin. So top, bottom, right, left. We will give the we will add the before mix into our anchor tag mixin. No, not the mixin. We will use the include keyword to use the include keyword before mix to use our mixin. So when you press the return button, it will create the for you some kind of empty mixin, and when you want to set it to the, for example, 0, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and 0 pixels, it will add these elements to before mixin, and it will return you the whole new styles. So if we go to the main CSS, we can see that our elements, our ULLIA anchor tag has already this before element, but one thing is incorrect here. We didn't use the right nesting. So when we want to give the before for anchor tag here, we should start with this special symbol ampersand. It is used for all of the pseudo selectors. And for example, before has the this kind of mixin. So now anchor tag has no all of the styles, but before of the anchor tag has the correct styles here. And also we can check it on the browser. So now we have the correct styles here. And the next thing that we should talk about in the mixins is the default parameters. For example, all of the elements, if I'm not mistaken, with the default parameters should be on the left, and 0, and also we can write here background color. Wait. BG. Okay, we will write like this, FF00FF. And the background color has the BGC. So if we go to here, as you can see, in before when we are including the before mix, we didn't give any kind of color to before mix, but we have defined the default color for the background color as the FF00FF, and when we are not giving it to our mixin, it's automatically taken from the parameter, from the default parameter. But when we are want to use F1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has changed to the one we have set and use it in including our mixin. And also you can use the, for example, height, and without giving it a default value, 10 pixels. Height. So all of our anchor text has the same styles here. So next thing that we should talk, as you guys understand, the mixin is one of the most important things in SAS files. And the next thing we should talk about here is the inheritance. We will not use it on the code, but we will look to the documentation. So if you have guys, can you tell me that you have you had a lesson about the inheritance on JavaScript or not?
Yes, we heard about, inheritance JavaScript.
Yes, we had.
That's cool then. And if you have learned about the basics of object-oriented programming, inheritance is the inheriting some parameters from the parent class to its child class, and inheritance in SCSS also works like that. All of the elements in the ordinary CSS also works with the inheritance, but in SAS it's some kind of different thing, because as we know, the CSS stands for the cascading style sheets, and all of the styles like waterfall coming from the upper elements. So as you can see, we have defined some kind of styles, message shared, and equal heights that we should extend on another classes. For example, message extends the message shared. All of the parameters and the styles from message shared are copied to our message class, and also we can extend this styles to another class like success. So maybe we will write this. For example, we should start it with the percent symbol, list element, and all of the list element should has the none. And if we delete this, and look to our Oh my god. Why it works still? Navigation UL li a UL list style type none. We have deleted it. It's interesting. So if we extend list element here, it should be extended, and all of our li elements has the list style type none. Okay, but if we delete it, it should not have. But still, it works. How? I don't know. So we can add another thing. For example, background color black, and extend it here into the li element. Extend and background, not background, list element. Am I using the correct? No. And we can go to here. Or do we have the so required parameters must precede optional parameters. So why it's not working in some places, as in JavaScript, SSS compiler use the top-down approach. If the one thing on the top is not working, or another thing is on the bottom will not work. So therefore we should consider consider one thing here, like errors and warnings on our VS Code file. As you can see, we have one error and one warning. And if
I'm sorry. In the list, this background color should be empty, because in when you extended something in the background color is empty here.
I will add it later.
Okay, thank you.
So it says that in the output, it says that we have the error on the line 14, and the optional parameters should be on the right, and the required parameters on the left. As you can see, optional parameters here is the ones that he has the default values. The ones that do not have the default values should be on the left. I made a mistake, and if we correct it and save the SSS file again, it should be it should work. And also we will add this background color black, so we have no errors here. As you can see now, list style type. Now in our list item, we have this list style type none, and also background color set to black. Everything works correctly. We have no errors, and if we delete this extent, our li element should not has the styles. Oh, it has. I didn't save it. So as you can see, li elements do not has any kind of styles. So inheritance works like that. And also we can add another li element and extend our main class list element to here also globally. So all of the li elements here, ul, li, some kind. Widget. So all of the elements li, even that are not in the navigation class, work takes the styles from our main class called the list element. We will move to the next part. We will not use the operators, I think. So it was the main thing on the SAS. And we will also, we can go to the documentation here after the learn SAS. Variables, we have used the variables, add through function, error, warn. We will not, we do not need that now. And operators, built-in models. And also we will look into the import. We have used the use here. It's a newer way of adding the another CSS file into the main CSS file. It was the older way of importing. Now it's not supported. It can be it can be used, but it's not recommended. As you know, what's deprecated import is now deprecated, and also in the documentation says that what's wrong with an import, that the import has the problems. You should learn it by yourself, I think. And also you should look into the use element. So the next thing is here, colors, list, maps, true, false, operators. We do not need that now. Breaking chains, command line. Structure. So about the structure. In CSS files, it's recommended to use mixins in one file and inheritance classes in another file, and also mixins in one file. Like we have started with a normalize, and if you do not want to do like this, you should firstly import all of the files on the top of our file where we want to import our another file. Import or use should be on the top, because as you know from the JavaScript, if you want to use one variable or the thing from another file, it should be defined on above where we are using. So firstly, we should define all of the imports, and then we should start with the variables here. For example, primary color and secondary color. And also it's recommended to go up with the mixins and the inheritance elements. So it works without any kind of problem, and the order or also change it on our normal CSS file. So that's it from the CSS side, and also that you should learn and consider on SAS that SAS also has the loops like like in JavaScript, for loop when you want to change some kind of value in each child of the element. For example, first element should have the 10 pixels, second element 20, and third 30. In that kind of cases, you can use the loop on the SAS. So it has the for iterator, and like in JavaScript, you can iterate through the child elements. So it's not a problem. You should read about that, and also it has some kind of functions like in programming language. That's it from the SAS, and then it was a preprocessor. And the next thing we should talk about is the postprocessors and CSS postprocessors. We has the postprocessors. If we I cannot remember the schedule, but if I'm not mistaken, there should be after you guys has talked about the after prefixer or not?
Yes. At the beginning.
At the beginning. Oh, that's cool then. And PostCSS, if you connect PostCSS to your project, it can be it can add new features of the CSS into the ordinary CSS. For example, you should not you start not you should not support all of the browsers by adding the special keywords like WebKit, MS, Opera, or like that. Instead of you, PostCSS will do all of the work for you, and also it's compatible with the newer version of the CSS. For example, here in the example, new color type like LCH is translated into the RGB by using the PostCSS, and also CSS modules are supported in PostCSS. I think you should, you should, but I should tell more about it. So PostCSS. Now, docs. Oh my God. There is a one problem that I have used PostCSS only in the React projects, and therefore I think you should it by yourself now. Yeah, all of the things about the PostCSS are in the documentation, and now we can talk about only that it can be helpful by adding the prefixes for our CSS files for all of the browsers, and it can be used for translating the newer version of CSS to the older version according to your parameters on the PostCSS, and also you can use the CSS models in order to work with the CSS models. What CSS models you will understand on the when you are learning the React, if I'm not mistaken. So there will be no problem. But the main thing that I should talk here, if you have guys talked about the BEM block element models, and it's a better way of writing the CSS styles without using and repeating any kind of the class names. as you can see here, all of the classes and the ID elements are unique on the CSS modules, and all of them are supported in post CSS when you are using and correctly configured it on, for example, Webpack, Gulp, or in your React or Angular project. So how we can work with the real project or real project, and what's a more efficient way? Oh, it's not working. So open the desktop app, open Figma. What's a better way? Pulse projects. Why I do not have the projects? No, still somebody working on my project. So in this project, what can be used as the variables? For example, all of the blue color here are used in many cases. For example, in button, in background color, background color, you use it one color, and therefore it can be written as the primary color to in our project. For example, I will take the color here and the view only. Why? Oh, so it works, and we can take the color and set it to variable. Firstly, we should we should take the colors from the project, and the next thing, in many cases, our designer our designer will give us the parameters and all of the size and all of the colors. Just a second, I should find the project with a better color and the size implementation. Just a second. Prep, no prep. Audible, Kiwi, views, JStudy. If I'm not mistaken, I have it here. And also we can open that. So I didn't have it here. For example, it's a food post project. We should firstly we should look into the design and decide for ourselves what's here considered as a main color, primary color, what's a secondary color, and what's for example, active color and button color. So if we look into the design, and the main color in our project in design is is that this color is primary color, and our secondary color is this orange color, and also we have the background color set to this color. We will firstly should take this primary, secondary color, and the BG color, and we will take this element, and here inspect and take this color and set to the primary color, and this orange color to the secondary color. So as you can see, now we have we should only remember primary color, secondary color, and background color where its names, and we can use all of the colors from here in our project without any kind of problem. It helps for you to not remember all of the classes and do not work around and finding the right color from here by selecting elements. And also the next thing that we should take here is the creating the before mix. We have already created, and the next useful mixing is the, for example, BG image mixing. BG image mixing because in many cases we has the repeating properties on when we are setting the background images. For example, background image should be required because URL, because in every case it's changed. And the next thing is the background size. By default, we can write it as the cover and the background repeat, it can be set to the repeat no repeat. And also we have background size, repeat, background position. Background position, by default, it will be centered. Center. So background image size, repeat, attachment, attach, inherit, and also background color should be also inherit. Color inherit. So if we create this kind of background image mixing, when we are using background images, for example, in a on a body, we should only take and include this BG image and write all of the information here. Firstly, if you look into the background image, it writes the and puts the all of the commas here, and you should look just a second. So VS Code do not show the tips for this mixing, but in WebStorm it works like that. When you click or the hover on this background image, it shows that what you should write here. Firstly, we will, for example, write like this image and back one PNG, and then we can write all of the optional elements values, or we can only write the URL of this element if we do not want to change this size and elements, and it can be work without any kind of problem, and it can be used any kind of times, and it will help you to do not repeating one code again and again. So we have created the main mixins for before and the background image, and also we can we can how to say use create the variables for the sizes or the or the variables for the size of these titles, headings, and all of the text in our design, and for the sizes of the images if it's repeating. So you can you should start work like this, and I think that's it for now. Guys, do you have questions?
I have a question. So it's always better to use SCSS extension instead of SAS, right? Just to avoid some misunderstandings.
Yes. If you for example, you can use it. No, you can start using SAS, and after some time you can, for example, consider that you put in some kind of places wrong spacing. For example, instead of the one space, you will put two space, and because of that, it can be there can be errors and some kind of warnings, and your style will not work. And also, if you are used to work in CSS, it's better to use SCSS because all of the rules for a little bit similar. At the end of the, for example, line parameter, you always put the semicolon. It works like in Python programming language. When you put the wrong spacing or wrong line, it stops working, and you should first looking and finding the bug, wrong spacing, and you will waste your time. I think it's better to use SCSS. I have started with the SCSS, and it's better way to use SCSS. But in some kind of old projects, you should support the ordinary SAS files where you cannot change the technology or the format of these files. In that cases, you should use the SAS. In other case, I recommend using only SSS. And also, one thing should be considered here, and there is another preprocessor called the less. In many projects, there are used the less preprocessor. It also works like the SAS preprocessor, but in a different way. If you are interested with another preprocessors, you should look into that. But so that's it, I think. You have another questions, guys?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too. So, guys, if you do not have the question, you can reach out to me in a in a Telegram. I think all of you know my account on the group, or you can take me, or you can write the personal message to me via the Telegram, and I will reply to your messages. So that's it for now. I think we can stop recording. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next lessons. Goodbye.
Bye.